Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the Golden Era of Bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to talk about Silver Era Bodybuilding legend Leo Roberts' waist reducing tips and abs workout. Whenever I talk about Leo Robert, many people immediately comment on his phenomenal midsection as shown in this photo of Leo. His midsection looks amazing. I mean, he looks like he just got carved out of granite. And I really think this look has to do with his approach to training his waist, his midsection, which I could sum up as holistic. If I chose one word, it would be holistic. This method of caring for the health and the appearance as well of his midsection was vital amongst Silver Era bodybuilders, all Silver Era bodybuilders, because they understood that a healthy gut looked flat and less bloated, of course, than an unhealthy gut, which bloats out, and then the midsection looks grotesque. So today I'd like to share an article which I recently read about Leo Roberts' approach to his midsection training, where he describes his training methods for sculpting the abdominal musculature. He also mentions dietary tips, as well as the methods for detoxifying the gut to maintain internal organ health. Enjoy. What surprised me most about this article is the emphasis on gut health. It is emphasized over and over again in the article. And Leo recommends, firstly, on gut health, to prevent bloatedness and remove inflammation in the midsection, one should detoxify every morning using warm water and a squeeze of lemon juice, which is reminiscent of Steve Reeves' advice as well. And Leo states on keeping a tight muscular midsection, the recommendation is that whether you are bulking or cutting up, to practice abdominal training daily. He actually says to make it a habit. And for example, if you're in your building phase, use low reps. But prior to a competition, of course, you would use high repetitions. And Leo, for example, would use 100 reps per set as a minimum. And he would also reduce liquids 2 days before a contest and cut out bread and starchy carbohydrates. All of these recommendations, of course, will help bring out the delineation and the musculature in the abdominal region. Leo's focus on gut health and its relationship to posture and an impressive midsection is further emphasized by his methods for training the transverse abdominis. As Leo puts it, it helps massage and strengthen the internal organs. Leo also recommends performing the vacuum whenever you are seated, and again, just to make it a habit. Muscle control of the midsection is of absolute importance in achieving an impressive midsection, and by the practice of vacuums, this can be achieved. Further, he uses another method which I will now describe to gain maximum control of his transverse abdominis, and that involves actually using a lightweight. So you lie on the floor, you place a lightweight on your abdomen, and you relax, and the weight of the plate will help the abdomen basically sink in towards the floor, and then you tense the abdomen and contract to bring the plate back up, and slowly you can build weight over time. And this particular method is actually used by martial artists, wrestlers, etc., to give tremendous power and control of the transverse abdominis. So as you can see, Leo Roberts and really most Silver Era bodybuilders and Golden Era bodybuilders had this idea, this focus on not just training the external obliques, the rectus abdominis, all the muscles on the outside, but they really focused on gut health as well, and posture through training the transverse abdominis, all helped in keeping a tight and small midsection. I will now focus and briefly go through his ab sculpting program. These exercises, he states, actually worked best for him. Leo recommends doing one or two of the following exercises firstly. So for example, if you're just starting out, to do 1 or 2 exercises, and then adding more exercises and advancing as time goes on. The first exercise recommended by Leo, of course, is the regular sit-up, which also, of course, not just tones the upper abdominals and the psoas muscles, but it actually tones the internal organs, massaging them as well. This is to be performed on the floor, and importance is to, in Leo's at least opinion, is to round the back as you perform this exercise, and this actually has to do with preventing back pain. He actually says that the action should be like you're rolling up. You're actually rolling yourself up as opposed to being completely straight. You're supposed to perform 3 sets of 10 repetitions. Now the next exercise that you're supposed to advance to after you've been performing the sit-up for a few weeks is the incline abdominal board sit-up, which now targets the lower abdominals and as well as the obliques. You can vary the angle, and as Leo states, of course, the steeper, the more difficult. Again, perform 3 sets of 10 repetitions. A few weeks later, you can incorporate the leg raise, which also works on the lower abdominals. And again, this can be performed either on an abdominal board or at the edge of a bench where your legs are hanging off. The idea is to use 3 sets of 10 repetitions for all these exercises, and eventually, as Leo Robert states, for example, for the leg raise, you can attach eventually weight using the iron boot. Now, an even more advanced leg raise, of course, is the hanging leg raise, which again Leo recommends performing after several, probably now months of abdominal training, especially with the leg raise, possibly having already done weighted leg raises first. Again, this is an advanced exercise not to be performed by beginners. It develops the full chain of muscles in the abdominal region, and again you should be performing 3 sets of 10 repetitions at first. Now the last exercise that Leo Robert recommends and stated worked best for him was the dumbbell side bend, which focuses on the oblique muscles. He recommends using a light dumbbell and again trying to perform up to 3 sets of 10 repetitions. He does state that it will add 1 to 2 inches and thicken the waist, of course, and to a lot of people this obviously raises alarm bells, and he does address this. A lot of people do not include side bends because it will add inches to your waist, muscular inches nonetheless. And as Leo puts it, it really does depend whether you wish to add this exercise or not. Depends on your definition of aesthetics. Some people like that, that Herculean rugged look, and therefore having a thicker waist section is not an issue for these people that want that thick Herculean look, that powerful look. Others that want more of a way more aesthetic, a greater V taper, and want that tiny waist, I guess, will not be focusing on developing the obliques too much. And again, as Leo Robert puts it, whether you include it or not in your program has to do with your definition and your perception, your own ideas, your own opinion on what an aesthetic physique should look like. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the Silver Era and Golden Era bodybuilding techniques for developing a tight muscular waist, I've got several books on my website, www.goldenerabookroom.com, such as How I Developed My Waist from Steve Reeves, How to Develop a Powerful Abdomen by Chas T. Trevor, and finally the long-awaited book on Vince Gironda's treatise on abdominals, where he lists the supplements and the diet that he recommends for bringing out the abdominals, which is very important because, as Vince states, the diet is probably one of the most important factors in trying to show off your abdominals. Of course, if there's a layer of fat covering, you're not going to be able to see them. And he also, of course, gives his recommended exercises that he developed for developing the abdominal musculature. This is very different to the 6 weeks abdominals course, which is sold by nspnutrition.com on their website. It's similar but different. This book gives, Vince Gironda on abdominals, that particular book that I'm selling, as I mentioned, gives you tips and dietary advice as well as supplementary advice on how to perfect your abdominals, whereas a 6 weeks abdominals course sold on NSP Nutrition's website is an actual training program. So anyway, these 3 books that are up right now by Steve Reeves, Chas T. Trevor, and Vince Gironda are available on my website, www.goldenerabookroom.com. Now, I'd like to end this video just by showcasing Reg Park's and Floyd Page's tight muscular midsection. And of course, these two guys, these two legends, icons of Silver Era Bodybuilding, were idols of Leo Robert. So he obviously followed very similar techniques that both of these bodybuilders employed, and the results speak for themselves. You can see it, how well developed Reg Park, Floyd Page's, and Leo Robert's abdominals were, following these techniques, following the techniques that focus on keeping your gut health, on really focusing on posture by training the transverse abdominals, having muscular control of the midsection, and of course sculpting the external musculature of the abdominal region. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm, leave me a comment, and thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my research in physical culture and bodybuilding, please donate via PayPal. You can become a patron. You can also visit my website, www.goldenerabookworm.com, for out-of-print courses and books. And finally, you can, I'm forgetting my own lines. You can, of course, email me if you wish to collaborate or pass on your books and magazines, which I always add to my collection, and I'm happy to share the information within. Hope you've enjoyed the video. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now. And to take full advantage of my collaborations with NSP Nutrition and Old School Labs, you can visit their websites and, for example, use the code GEB20 to get a 20% discount from all of NSP's products, and use the code on the Old School Labs website, Bookworm12, to get 12% off their products. And for an entertaining look at the history of bodybuilding's supplement industry, I would highly recommend watching Subs the Movie, which I have collaborated in, available at Amazon Prime and Vimeo.
Hi everybody, I just want to recommend this phenomenal book, Vince's Secret Locker, volume number 2 by Carl Coyne. I've been looking at this for about 4 weeks and I can't put it down. If you get a chance, check it out. He also has a part 1 that I highly recommend also. Vince was the trainer to the stars and had an amazing, interesting gym that today there's still not equipment like it around. It was all made out of wood. He'll be on our radio show coming up probably in the next couple weeks or so. Have a great day, and again, highly recommend this book.